So to prepare myself for council, I have been coming to the farmers market, talking to the people and hearing what they have to say. I've also been going to the city council chambers and sitting in on council and listening to the issues that are being brought up before the current council. And also, I just finished reading the book Walkable City by Sept, and I highly recommend it. It talks about the science behind making our downtown more pedestrian friendly. It talks about the science behind making our neighborhoods friendly for bikes and safe for kids. And it talks about how we can make our city more economically prosperous through smart urban designs.
So when I first started coming down here to the farmers market, an individual who's running for council told me I should read the Alberta Government Municipal Government Act. So I've started reading that. Personally, I like to read a lot of different books. Right now I'm reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, so I enjoy that. And
how I prepared for council, I think, is the accumulation of years of paying attention to anything and everything related to politics and management and governance of city, province, and even at the federal level. I've always been interested in politics. I've always paid close attention to what's happening. I had the opportunity a few years ago to report the news from Red Deer with CBC Radio in French. So that kept me really, really informed about what has been happening, and kind of maintain my interest in what happens, at many, many levels of government. I read the paper, I go to the city website, I pay attention to the decisions that council makes, and sometimes I will criticize, I will provide suggestions, or meet with councillors and city employees and share my thoughts with them on how I think things are good or things need improvement, and provide sound suggestions.
I love to read, and I certainly encourage everybody to read. And in my own personal life and business life, if you will, periodicals that I really love, any of the national newspapers, the National Post, the Globe, CNN, BNN, in terms of media presentation. Highly encourage people to get involved from that perspective. Obviously, our own local papers and so forth, a wealth of information there. On the book side, I actually like biographies. I get inspired by the great personalities of our ages. I have to be frank with you and say that Abraham Lincoln has been, is today, and will be my absolute favorite role model. So I love anything on Lincoln and his positions and his politics, and the way he could build consensus was amazing. So I encourage people to get involved in that side of reading. That's where I'm from, and enjoy the read. Thank you.
So this question is, what periodicals or documentation I've read to prepare me for council? Well, I've worked in council for 20 years now, so I've read a lot of municipal government related material professionally, and some of the associations I'm members of, AUMA, MISA, or Municipal Information Systems, Alberta Union of Municipalities Association. I read their newsletters and documentation all the time, so I'm aware of the practical side. I also am aware of local news. I read the Advocate regularly, the Express. I like national news. I like to watch the national news. But I also read Maclean's Magazine and a few others, the Globe and Mail on occasion. A lot of it, because I'm a tech guy, I also like to read the tech stuff. So I try to keep up on local issues. I also watch online council meetings, so I try to keep up on what's going on. I think my biggest preparation for this is really just my experience within municipal government. I've seen a lot of good, I've seen a lot of bad. Thank you.
I think it's really important that a councillor is up to date on current news in their area, in their province, on the national level and internationally. And I like to do that. I subscribe to the Advocate, and I like to read some other newspapers from larger cities on a regular basis. But to prepare for councillor, you need to prepare on two fronts. One is you're in a governance role, and you're a steward for our community. And it's important that you understand what your role is. And somebody who's been very helpful for me is George Carver in a policy governance model. And George Cuff has made that real in the lives of municipalities. And we've had a great session with George, and we will with the new council. When the new council is in, they will also get that. Also in our community, I think we have to be aware of what's happening in terms of urban development, and we need to be able to plan for our future. And the people that I'm most like are Avi Friedman, who has designed wonderful neighborhoods in Montreal, really a lot to learn from him, and Richard, Florida. And another article I look at, or another kind of publication, is Insight. And Insight is written for councillors, and it looks at municipal issues and provincial issues and keeps you on top of that.
I have to do a lot of reading as a politician, and there's a couple things that I like. One magazine for municipal councillors is Municipal World. It talks about key issues in Canadian municipalities that impact our communities. We learn from other communities, and there's valuable lessons there. I also do a fair bit of reading on my own about leadership, because I think it's really important as a leader. There's always lessons to learn from other leaders, and one of my favorite authors is John Izzo, and he has a new book about responsibility, and that's also good for citizens and our responsibility in our society. And I also go to a number of conferences, and one of the ones I enjoyed this last year was about sustainability, and it talks about how we can be healthy communities, not just from our infrastructure and what we build, but also about healthy communities, how our health is linked together. It's about housing, and it's about providing opportunities for citizens to be living in a good city. So that's my learnings as a councillor.
Again, I'm here with Roger Bakes at the Farmers Market. Just wanting to address the question of how much research it really takes to become a city councillor. I think there's lots of things that potential candidates should be aware of that's available as resources. One of the things that you really do need to know about is the municipal acts of Alberta. So getting intimate with the details of that act, because it tells you about local governance and about the rules that you have to follow when you're becoming an elected official. A number of other materials and resources that I go into is the candidates' websites, their profiles. Find out about people that you will potentially be working with and making decisions for the city. And I encourage people to read a lot about city issues. So the newspapers, the local papers, their local twits, I'm still in that. But certainly take every opportunity you can to research and find out about candidacy.